Change the Good morning and welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Hump Day. Here we are, Wednesday already, into double digits for the month of May. Here it is, the 10th.
Yes, and it's very warm outside.
Yes, it is. So the people who have been wanting the warmer weather, it has arrived, and I'm not sure that it's going away anytime soon either.
No, I think it's here to stay.
Yeah, pretty much. November.
Yeah.
Somewhere around those lines. Glad to have you aboard here this morning on Get Real America.
Yes, and today is actually the school board meeting, which is interesting because they've moved it from the first week of the month and to the second week. And this is the second month they've done that. And it's interesting that they don't really put out a lot of notice. The communication from the school has not exactly been great, which is no surprise. But
no, it isn't.
They have been interviewing for the superintendent position. I believe they got 49 applications, which, I mean, that sounds pretty good to me. Well, I don't know the quality of those candidates, however. They have narrowed it down, and they've been doing interviews this week. So hopefully these are closed interviews. You cannot go into them, but they should have a public option as well coming up, letting us know who the candidates are.
Yeah, as long as they celebrate diversity.
I could do without that.
Yeah.
I could do without that.
Yeah.
I care about, can our kids read? Can they do math? And are they graduating prepared to go to work?
You're such a realist.
I know. I can't. People hate it.
God,
people hate
I know.
it.
Yeah. Just
so
awful.
annoying.
For sure. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump is going to be having a town hall meeting on the Communist News Network tonight. So he said that might be the end of fake news on CNN.
Well, I think their commentators will. Here's the other thing. So is it going to be uninterrupted? Like, here's the thing that I hate is that for all of Donald Trump's great things he does, I do think that sometimes he does not learn lessons. I don't know why he gives them any sort of credibility or even gives them the opportunity to have something like this to increase their ratings, because they have none.
Yeah. Because
we all know that it would be heavily watched, and it's not by CNN's normal viewership. So I think this is CNN's terrible attempt to try and gain some credibility and, gain some ratings. But I don't know why Trump does that. He could do this for a smaller network that would help them out more, and they support his values. But maybe he's trying to reach people that watch CNN. I don't know.
I think he had been talking about doing something at Newsmax as well, but it'd be nice to do Newsmax or One America, something like that, or Get Real America for that matter.
Yeah, he's welcome anytime.
Yeah, for sure. And nice guy. Except yesterday, this jury, and of course it's a New York jury. What do you expect? Hands down this libel suit against that have been going on since 1996. This woman all of a sudden comes out of the woodwork. Brittany, this reminds me of the time that Herman Cain was running for president. And suddenly 5 to 7 women came out of the woodwork that you had never heard of. Herman Cain had never met these people, and suddenly we're accusing him of things that didn't happen, on things that so something that happened in 1996, all of a sudden now it's coming forward, and the jury actually considered this, and she couldn't remember exactly what the date was. This reminds me of the same thing that we had against Brett Kavanaugh. This woman was accusing him of all these things, but she couldn't remember the date. She couldn't remember the place. She couldn't remember what time it was, so on and so forth. It is just disgusting.
Well, and this is all for them to say, oh, you guys are going to put a rapist in the White House.
Exactly.
I mean, this is all a talking point.
Except they didn't come back with a verdict on the rape.
Do you think that the headline's going to read that way?
No, of course not.
No. It's I think sexual abuse or something is what it came back as. But honestly, it's laughable. Like, I'm sorry, you guys have made a mockery of, number one, women being able, who have been raped, for them to come forward and to be credible. So shame on you guys for doing stuff like this. Number two, I mean, the circus that you guys have created around Trump, people are rolling their eyes. They do not care. I mean, honestly, it's like, okay, go ahead. Bring another court case against him. Do whatever you're going to do, but let's get on with it.
Yeah. And the worst part is the fake, other fake stories. There's a story came out yesterday that's been making headlines, at least in long conservative news, that this young man who was a punter at San Diego State University, he was called the punting god or something like that. I mean, this kid could punt 50, 60-yard punts, and he is signed by the Buffalo Bills, and this girl accuses him of a savage rape at a fraternity party.
Believe all women, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, in this case, they did, and it comes out that not only was he that didn't happen, he wasn't even there at the time they said it took place, and all this finally, after a year investigation and things of that nature, and he's lost his NFL contract. He has lost his ability to have any endorsements or anything of that nature. And we've got video of this girl who was 17 years old, claiming she was 18. And we've got video of her at a party the night before making the same claims. And then there's also video of the party that night and the situation. And they finally found out he wasn't even there, that this was take place around 11 o'clock or 11:30 when the so-called rape took place. And he had left the party by about 9:30. There is absolute evidence of that. And yet his life has been ruined. And shouldn't there be some laws now for false accusations, of putting people in, with prison terms just as long as the ones that they were going to put this guy in for?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Start prosecuting people that have false claims put against someone else, because they've destroyed this person's future that they worked their entire life for. You don't start this in high school. This starts when you're a little kid, when you're going to the NFL. You're not, I'm sorry, it's a craft. You hone it and you work towards it your entire life. This woman took that away from him. That's not okay. And women need to start calling out other women for doing stuff like this. It's not okay. Because you're irresponsible and you're not doing things that you should be doing, you're going to call out rape every time that you feel like you need to. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Women need to learn better behavior.
For sure. And one of the things that I think would clear up the court system is that, and I think they've done this. They did this in England, and I think it cleared the docket quite a bit.
Are you giving credit to England right now?
This was years ago when they were credible.
Okay.
But they came up with the idea that if you sue somebody and you lose your case, and it's considered, a false accusation or whatever, but you lose the case, you have to pay for the case. You don't get your attorney's fees paid by the other party. You have to pay for this. You're responsible. And it all of a sudden, a lot of these lawsuits went away. It's kind of like when police started having the body cams. And people said, that officer was rude to me. He did this, that, or the other. And they said, well, let's look at we have the video of the incident. And they're like, oh, well, maybe I was exaggerating.
Oh, maybe
Yeah.
Maybe it felt worse in my head. Yeah. And so Donald Trump, he did come out and he had his Truth Social, which he still uses quite frequently. He hasn't returned to Twitter yet, but I'm waiting for that.
Yeah.
But his Twitter, he said, I have absolutely no idea who this woman is. The verdict is a disgrace, a continuation of the greatest witch hunt of all time. I don't disagree with him, Bill.
I don't either, because they've been coming after this guy for everything. The news media and the Trump haters are upset every time he wakes up in the morning, and he's been responsible for everything. I heard President what's his face was giving a press conference yesterday.
Oh, is it Biden?
Yeah, him.
Okay, yeah.
And said something to the effect of how bad things were. The border situation, all these people coming across, and he again blamed Trump for the terrible situation that he inherited. He didn't inherit a terrible situation. If Title 42 going away tomorrow, and people lining up at the border, and they may just charge. There's not going to be a darn thing we could do if these people just sort of charge across the border. I don't care. We've got 1,500 National Guardsmen down there. That's going to be
nothing.
That's a drop in the bucket.
That's nothing.
Spit in the ocean.
I mean, the other thing is, I don't think that he's doing these press conferences for today. I think that these are for later on down the road.
Yeah.
So that they can say, see, this never happened. You know, he was always talking about how, you know, the bad policy of the previous president, that's why we have all these situations. I think this is for the history books. I don't think that this is for our benefit. And I think that that's why we see Jean Pierre.
Yeah.
I'm like KJP.
Yeah.
She, the worst liar in the world. And they still, I mean, I'm waiting for her to step down.
How can we get the two dumbest women on the planet in this administration?
You know, at least
her and the vice president.
Well, also at least Jen Psaki, she was a good liar.
Yeah, she was.
She was a great liar. So it's
and
at least
circling
have
back
talent.
and always circling back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a whole song done about that with her saying "circle back." It was kind of hilarious. But who did they put? What is Kamala in charge of now? AI?
She's in charge of AI. Yeah. So the woman who is in charge of our border czar, is now the AI czar.
Yeah, that's really. She probably doesn't even understand how it works. You know, it's this machine that talks to this other bigger machine. Like, what is that conversation? I can't wait to hear her speech about this.
The explanation to that, especially if she gets the kids together from NASA again to explain what AI is all about. But it's as the great comedian Jimmy Fallon said on Fox the other night, said, isn't it amazing that we now have a technology where we got robots that can talk and a vice president that can't? So way to go, Jimmy, because her word salad the other day was absolutely unbelievable.
But maybe that's how they're going to convince us that robots should be in charge. Look how dumb the vice president is. Yeah. We need robots. We cannot have people.
AI may not be such a bad idea after all.
I mean,
it couldn't be worse than the cretins that are running the place now.
Well, the thing about AI, so I did hear that Elon Musk, which agree or disagree with him, very interesting guy, but he wants to create truth AI, which I think is an interesting word that he used, but because he does understand that AI is the way of the future, but he also understands the way it's been created. It is very biased, and he has a huge problem with that. And I will say I respect him in that way. There are other ways that I am very questionable on Elon Musk with his ties to China, but when it comes to free speech, I think that buying Twitter was one of the most strategic things he could have done. And I do think that probably one of the things that could save the 2024 election.
Yeah. And this is the time to start getting our forces together to make sure that election is actually honest.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about Elon is he is no conservative.
No.
By any stretch of the imagination.
Said he voted for Biden?
Yes. So, but I think he's a realist, which I can appreciate. And he also believes in truth. And I think that that's where we need to get back to. And if, you know, people are crying about, you know, the news that we're going to talk about in the second segment, but they are mad that Twitter is turning into a right-wing propaganda outlet. I mean, but you're going to see these leftists flee from Twitter, which may allow like the classical liberals and the conservatives to actually have a conversation, which I think is what is not happening right now. None of us are having a conversation about reality. We're talking about people's cat and frog pronouns. Like, what is this?
Yeah, exactly. And the whole situation is what the force that we are fighting is that Satan never sleeps. And they are not satisfied till they get everything their way. If you were in some sort of a contest where you won 68 out of 70 times, you'd be happy with that. Say, okay, well, yeah, you won 68 times. If they don't win 70 out of 70 times, they're going to riot and cajole. Look at what they're doing up in New York to this Marine that's probably saved people's lives.
Yep.
But we'll be talking about that right after the break. Coming up here, as we continue to get real. Happy Wednesday.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934. With personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Get Real America, we are focused on Savannah, but we'd like to hear from other communities as well. We have a lot in common. Come join us today at Sweet Potato's Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Happy Wednesday.
Here we are. And there have been some big things in the media. You know, I was talking to my mom yesterday, and my parents have watched Fox News my entire life. Mm-hmm. And my mom's like, we're boycotting. My mom's like, I had no idea how much I watched Tucker Carlson and that I waited for his show every night. Mm-hmm. And so they canceled their Fox Nation, which they watched a lot. And they haven't been watching Fox, and they have actually had it blocked from their system. They're not watching it at all. But Tucker Carlson has been a huge influence, and has given people in a different bracket, like older people like my parents, and, you know, access to information that's not being reported anywhere else in the mainstream. He's the only one talking about certain issues in the way that he's talking about them. I think younger generations can find it online, but you're not seeing it on CNN, NBC, Fox. It's just not happening.
Well, it's just like the video that he put on the air that debunked the entire January 6th committee, debunked the entire January 6th claims about what this insurrection that was taking place, while we continue not to prosecute any of the people that were burning down America in the summer of love 3 years ago.
Well, and my mom said, you know, the thing is, like, 'cause she's watched some other shows, but she's like, you know, the thing is, the production of Fox is just, it's really eye-catching, it's appealing, mm-hmm. where some of the other productions just aren't up to par.
Well, I tell you, one of the things, Brittany, it's unfortunate because I'm hot and cold on this, because we can't afford to lose. We can't afford to lose a conservative outlet like Fox. They need to. I don't know what they're going to do to recover their fumble. I don't think they can possibly do it in any way, shape, or form right now. Of what they can possibly do to recover this, but the worst thing in the world that can happen is for us to lose Fox News altogether. I could continue to watch. I continue to watch Fox Nation. They have some fantastic reports on there, and it is great stuff. And it's unfortunate that the powers that be caved in like a cheap mattress. And I feel sorry for the people who work there, who, you know, their livelihood depends on this, and whether or not they will lose advertisers or anything of that nature, and because they're losing viewers right and left. But we cannot afford to lose Fox. They need to do something to do some sort of mea culpa. To correct this situation if they possibly can. It's just another one of those outlets that we say we just can't afford to lose them.
But also, Fox forgets who their viewers are.
Yeah, and that's the worst part.
Well, right? Here's the thing: it's no different than Budweiser. Mm-hmm. When you look at it, you are not playing to your base, and from what I understand, the reporting that's coming out on Tucker Carlson being fired, it was part of the Dominion settlement that they had, which, quite interesting.
That's disgusting.
It is. And here's the other thing. Murdoch, in my opinion, should not own Fox News. He is also someone that came into the country, and I don't know. He's a foreigner, and I'm not so sure the way that he got his citizenship is exactly how it should have went, but it is what it is. I don't know that Fox can recover, and I think that this is just another nail in the coffin to cable news media. I don't know that we're good. The landscape is changing, is what I'm saying, mm-hmm. and we're going to see more independent news outlets. We're going to see, more people doing shows on Twitter, which I do think we have an announcement about that.
Yeah, so let's take a look.
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. You often hear people say the news is full of lies, but most of the time that's not exactly right. Much of what you see on television or read the New York Times is in fact true in the literal sense. It could pass one of the media's own fact checks. Lawyers would be willing to sign off on it. In fact, they may have. But that doesn't make it true. It's not true. At the most basic level, the news you consume is a lie of the stealthiest and most insidious kind. Facts have been withheld on purpose, along with proportion and perspective. You are being manipulated. How does that work? Let's see. If I tell you that a man has been unjustly arrested for armed robbery, that is not, strictly speaking, a lie. He may have been framed. At this point, there's been no trial, so no one can really say. But if I don't mention the fact that the same man has been arrested for the same crime 6 times before, am I really informing you? No, I'm not. I'm misleading you. And that's what the news media are doing in every story that matters, every day of the week, every week of the year. What's it like to work in a system like that? After more than 30 years in the middle of it, we could tell you stories. The best you can hope for in the news business at this point is the freedom to tell the fullest truth that you can. But there are always limits. And you know that if you bump up against those limits often enough, you will be fired for it. That's not a guess, it's guaranteed. Every person who works in English language media understands that. The rule of what you can't say defines everything. It's filthy, really, and it's utterly corrupting. You can't have a free society if people aren't allowed to say what they think is true. Speech is the fundamental prerequisite for democracy. That's why it's enshrined in the first of our constitutional amendments. Amazingly, as of tonight, there aren't many platforms left that allow free speech. The last big one remaining in the world, the only one, is Twitter, where we are now. Twitter has long served as the place where our national conversation incubates and develops. Twitter is not a partisan site. Everybody's allowed here, and we think that's a good thing. And yet, for the most part, the news that you see analyzed on Twitter comes from media organizations that are themselves thinly disguised propaganda outlets. You see it on cable news, you talk about it on Twitter. The result may feel like a debate, but actually the gatekeepers are still in charge. We think that's a bad system. We know exactly how it works, and we're sick of it. Starting soon, we'll be bringing a new version of the show we've been doing for the last 6.5 years to Twitter. We'll be bringing some other things too, which we'll tell you about. But for now, we're just grateful to be here. Free speech is the main right that you have. Without it, you have no others. See you soon.
People are excited.
Yeah, indeed. And he's right. Having worked in a television newsroom for almost 30 years, starting in 1971, I saw over the years the young people who were coming in as reporters knew less and less about the Constitution. They would repeat anything that they heard. They'd get a press release of some sort, and there was an organization, Brittany, I think they may still be around, but they try to call out the press every year by coming up with some fake organization that doesn't exist. They come up with they put the letterhead together. They get this very official looking stuff. And once upon a time, when fax machines were still popular, they would fax these press releases to newsrooms across the country. And suddenly, this was headline news just about everywhere. Nobody bothered to call the company to see if it existed. Nobody bothered to check any of the facts or any of the items that were mentioned in the news release. And then these people would call a press conference and say, "Here's what we did to you. April Fool. You've fallen for it again. You didn't check your sources or anything of that nature." You have reporters that assume things without doing any research into them. They model the story to make it come out the way they want it to. Case in point was in fact Stone Phillips at NBC lost his job in the story that they did on NBC Dateline on the General Motors side saddle gas tank of pickup trucks. Once upon a time, they made a model of a pickup truck that had the gas tank on the side of the vehicle instead of in the rear, and it wasn't well guarded. It was only like a piece of sheet metal across it, and there were some incidents where the vehicles and wrecks did catch on fire. because they were hitting the side, and sparks started flying, and this gas tank exploded, and a lot of people died. So NBC is doing a story on this, giving you the impression that this happened all the time, and they showed this video of it happening, of a simulation. And it turns out that they had to do the simulation about 15 times. It didn't happen. Finally, they put sparklers underneath the truck so that it would. So when they did have the impact, they would get this explosion that they wanted. And Stone Phillips was one of the main reporters who was doing the story, and General Motors lawyers got the entire video that had been carefully edited to make sure that you didn't see the sparklers, and showed that, and General Motors won the case, and Stone Phillips lost his job. Now, they didn't fire the female reporter who was involved with it as well.
We're protected class.
Yeah, that's true. But Stone Phillips lost his job, and a good reporter otherwise. But here it was giving you the narrative of actually slanting the story in the direction that they wanted you to. We've had numerous calls over the years. Rush Limbaugh and other talk show hosts. We get calls from people when they do this man on the street stories. And what did you think about a particular project or particular political bent? And these people called in and said, I was interviewed by the KRUD, the big crud in Yucca Flats, Nevada, and they were interviewed. They showed like 10 people that were interviewed, and the 2 people who disagreed with whatever it was that they didn't agree with didn't get on the air. They just showed the other 8 people. And so like you're given the impression this is what everybody thinks. In fact, when Rush first went on the air, that was one of the things that people were saying. This is the first time I'm hearing this. Finally hearing somebody, I almost fell for the Walter Cronkites of the world and the 3 news anchormen on the evening news telling me how that's the way it is. And suddenly when somebody came out and was talking truth to power, they said, wow. That's actually what I thought. I thought I was beginning to think I was crazy. That I was the only one who didn't think that way. And that's why it became so damn popular.
Well, I also think it's when you look at how people want to be told what to think, mm-hmm. They don't want to think on their own, or we're not trained to think on our own. And so I think it's very easy to manipulate people. And again, going back to the fact that the White House continues to lie about everything, the more you say it, the more people are like, well, they've done all this stuff for, immigrants and all of the lies that they tell. And that's why when you have a conversation with someone that is uneducated on what's going on, they just get angry and shut down because they don't understand the situation. And I think that that's what we're seeing. People are making opinions and stating facts, quote unquote, without actually having any knowledge of the situation at all. Mm-hmm. And it's bad, but the media can control a lot. And
we saw that in the Summer of Love, and as Tucker said, it is one of the biggest powers of the media is the ability to control the narrative and to leave out certain important pieces of information. The power to ignore is the biggest power that they have. Don't cover the story. Right now, the White House is accusing the Oversight Accountability Committee Chairman James Comer, said that he's leading an evidence-free, politically motivated investigation into the Biden crime syndicate. And they've got all the evidence. It's absolutely, but they're trying to tell you that you don't believe what you're seeing on the screen. When the CNN reporter was standing up there, one of those riots 3 years ago, and it looks like the Chicago fire behind him. He said, but as you can see, it's mostly peaceful.
Fiery, but mostly peaceful.
Yeah. All right.
But when we get back, we're going to be talking about other ways that you will not believe your lying eyes.
Mm-hmm. At Get Real America, we want to make sure that the real story gets out, and you can help us as a sponsor or as an advertiser to make sure that word does get out to the community.
Be a sponsor and support your local community here at Get Real America.
I don't think it's an accident that I ended up writing music for a living, because I think I lived in a house where I saw how deeply it affected everyone in the house. And just how much everyone defined themselves by the music they listened to.
Music as a framework, I think, gave my parents my identity from a young age. You can like any music that you want if it makes you feel happy. And now when I hear certain songs, I think of them, and I think of them in their happiest state, and it makes me happy.
If they seem like they're having trouble talking about something, I try to tell them about a time when I felt something similar.
Whatever the issue was, we would tell them the pros and cons and how important it was that they had come to us because we could always help them. I think the real important point, we always told them, no matter what you do, no matter what happens, we will help you through it no matter what it is.
Come join us today at Sweet Potato's Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Happy Wednesday, 10th day of May. And right now we have 75, 80 degrees here in Savannah, something like that.
Yes, it feels like a steam room.
It sure does.
Enjoy it.
And it's going to get even worse.
Yes. We haven't even hit July yet.
Brace yourself.
Yes. You know, Bill, we were talking before the break just how the media has the ability to manipulate stories. The White House, they lie a lot. And, they're also telling you, don't believe what you're seeing. There's video footage, but that's not really how it is. There is a great reporter. Her name is Savannah Hernandez. She does incredible independent journalism.
Does not gild the lily, shall we say.
No, and she's a tough gal. But she was down in El Paso, and I'll tell you what, I was shocked when I saw this video.
Texas ahead of the expiration of Title 42. Now, a quick refresher for you guys. Title 42 was that COVID-era policy that did allow Border Patrol to turn illegal immigrants back over the border much easier. Now, what you guys are seeing behind me right now is a long line of illegal immigrants that are standing outside of a processing facility here in downtown El Paso. Now, we've talked to a couple of the migrants on the other side, and they've told us that Border Patrol and immigration officials have unofficially asked them to come here to get processed today, so the process of them getting their papers can be expedited. Now, this follows the announcement from DHS last night that they were going to be pursuing enforcement operations. So that is the current scene on the ground right now. The majority of the people in the crowd, which again stretches past this corner over here, a lot of the migrants have been coming and going since early this morning. The majority of them single adult males from Venezuela. Now, if we go down just one block to the Sacred Heart Catholic Church, we have an entirely different migrant crisis going on over there. You have camps along the entire block. It's very warm out here, a lot of heat in the El Paso sun, and makeshift tents have been created out of blankets to shield a lot of these migrant children that are sleeping on the streets with their parents, with a lot of the other migrants. So a complete humanitarian crisis here in downtown El Paso. Let's not forget that the mayor has already declared a state of emergency because of how overrun the city streets have already become. Now, I want to go over a couple of statistics as well, because just in the past week alone, we saw over 55,000 apprehensions. This is official Border Patrol numbers that are coming out. On top of that, over 18,000 gotaways. I would imagine that some of the people behind us are a part of that number. Also, if we take a peek at the numbers in April, over a 10-day span, we had 90,000 people cross the border, and Title 42 hasn't even expired yet. So just an idea of what is happening on the ground. Multiple sources saying tens of thousands more waiting to cross the border from Juarez into the United States once Title 42 expires this Thursday. So we'll be live here on the ground to show you guys what is going on as this city continues to be overrun with illegal immigrants.
Incredible. I mean, when I saw that, I was like, this is America? Like, we have cities that look like this in the U.S. right now.
Mm-hmm. El Paso, we're becoming, when somebody said we were turning into a third world country, they were laughed at 5 years ago. And here we are. And like I said, it's practically happened overnight, the swiftness. What amazed me was how quickly the entire world shut down over COVID. How quickly that happened.
Mm-hmm. Well, Bill, I think when you also look at this border stuff, you know, I think in Georgia, we've been kind of isolated from it. I think that we still have it happening here, but we're not seeing the impact like Texas is, or New York or California, because number one, New York decided they were going to be brilliant and they were going to be so accepting and they were going to be a sanctuary city.
Yeah.
So what happens? Okay, you're a sanctuary city. We'll send you some migrants. And guess what? Now they're asking the federal government.
Bloody murder, yeah.
Now they're asking the federal government to step in. And here's the thing that I hate, Bill. I think that the state should be able to say, guess what? Our citizens, we're not paying for this. We are financially responsible. We are, doing good things. We are, living within a budget, and we are doing the things that our people want us to do. We should be protected from paying federal funding to New York, Illinois, California, who have bad policy, and we pay for it because we're not doing it in our state. We don't want to live in that, and we don't want to support that. Why do we have to pay for it? Why do I have to pay federal dollars for them to continue to have bad policy?
Yeah, exactly. Bail them out when they got in troubles, like a parent many times who their child gets in financial difficulty every time and continues to get in trouble and said, okay, I'll give you the money, and because I love you. There's such a thing as tough love, and the best thing that they could do is that, no, you're going to have to get your way out of this one. You have to deliver pizzas, as Dave Ramsey always says. Okay, get yourself another job. You have to live on beans and rice and beans until you can get out of this mess. And that's the way you learn to do it. We had a good friend of ours that we loaned money to one time, and he kept saying, he's still, and he paid it back. Yeah. No, very honorable. He paid it back. But he said, just hard to live like this. And finally, my wife looked at him and said, why don't you get, I'll tell you what, why don't you get a paper route? And when he got his paper route, that provided him enough money to get out of the well. And has never, he hadn't looked back.
Well, I think that there has to be consequences, Bill. Like, you have to go through something challenging to get better and to appreciate what you have. And maybe that's what we're going through here in the U.S. We need to be more appreciative of the freedoms that we have. I will tell you, when you talk to anyone that has migrated here, they are so grateful for the U.S. and the opportunity it provides them. Capitalism is great. I don't care what anyone says. It's not a perfect system, but it's brought a lot of people out of poverty. And it's the only country where you can do this. And people that grew up here, they are so spoiled. They're so spoiled. They think they need an iPhone. They think the government should pay for it. And they think that, stomping their feet and just asking for a handout, that should just be the way it is. And I know that that's socialism, but I don't like it.
Well, they've never known anything else. They've never had to go through that crucible, as it were, that some of our parents or grandparents went through. I didn't live through the Great Depression, but I remember the stories that my mother told me, and my mother and father told me about it, who had gone through it, and why they would hoard certain things or save certain things. They said, well, there's just a little bit of food. Let's throw that out. No.
Yes.
Don't throw out food while it's still good.
Well, and I think that that's the other thing. Like, but we've gone through some interesting times. Just even, I mean, I'm in my 30s, and we had 9/11, we had 2008. This crisis is going to be bigger than I think any of us could ever imagine. We had 2020 pandemic. There's been quite a few situations in my lifetime that I'm like, how are we here? And every time we have one of these crises, this is the other thing that I've noticed. We give up more of our freedom.
Exactly.
Every single time.
Paul Harvey used to say that all the time in his broadcasts over the years, when he would say, you're a little less free today than you were yesterday because of some law that was passed, because something that happened. I can remember going to the airport. The plane was leaving in 5 minutes, and you frantically parked your car. You went to the counter. You threw the bag on and ran and got on the plane, and just got here. You didn't have to get there 2 hours early.
Yeah.
You didn't have to go through 1,000 standing around. You didn't have to go through. You didn't have to have your colonoscopy as you went through and X-rayed. You didn't have to. You didn't have to worry about getting there in time. If you got there before they closed the gate,
you're good to go.
You're on the plane. You're on the way. There was no and. The thought of hijacking a plane was so foreign that you didn't even think about that, especially using a plane as a missile. Was never even not even part of our psyche in any way, shape, or form. Going to school when in the early days, we said the Pledge of Allegiance every morning. We sang "God Bless America" or "Columbia, the Gem of the Ocean," or something like that, or and we had prayer in homeroom. The teacher had a Bible right there. You picked up the Bible. You read a Bible verse, and you said a prayer in homeroom. And then along comes the extreme court and says that there's a separation of church and state in the Constitution. No, there isn't. If you think there is, show it to me. The only thing that's in the Constitution says that the country will not establish a religion. We won't have the Church of the United States like they have the Church of England. There will be no church affiliation of the country. You can go to the church that you want to or not at all.
Yeah, and I think that, like I said, I will never know what that's like until and I don't know if we have the wherewithal to start reversing a lot of the damage. Patriot Act, I think, should be repealed. And we need to stop focusing on what bills we can pass and go by the Constitution.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what we need to do.
And no piece of legislation should be more than 10 pages long.
That's even too long for me. I think the thing is American people have to be able to read and understand it. And everything goes back to, why have they dumbed down education? Why are we not teaching them civics? It's a huge issue, huge issue, because people don't understand how the government impacts their life. And that's the goal, right?
Exactly.
You don't know how it impacts your life. You're not worried about it. But digging into how the government works, I am appalled at how everything is set up and how we've allowed the government to get so big and so incredibly powerful. And it's not the elected officials making a lot of these laws. It's these bureaucratic agencies that get to dictate how we do things, and they get to monitor everything.
Yeah, especially now, because there's no such thing as privacy anymore.
Nope.
All right, coming up next, Prager University to the rescue once again. What can we do about woke universities?
Oh, hopefully a lot.
Yeah. Go.
Who is a kid? Well, that's a kid. And another. Look, a gaggle of them. Or is it a herd? Litter? Pride. But what about her? Tell her she's not a kid. Or him. So how do we tell who is a kid? Height? Age, maybe. But some of us have to grow up faster than others. A kid. A kid. A kid wants to make the world better. And one day, he just might. Is a kid fearless? Vulnerable? Strong? Nervous? Yes. 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 Kiwanis is 600,000 kids at heart, doing all the little and big things it takes to help children around the world. Because kids need Kiwanis. All of them.
I'm coming home, Savannah. We'll never be alone, Savannah. The beauty of the world, Savannah. Let's all take a walk, Savannah. I'm coming home, Savannah.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934 with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Heading down the home stretch here on this Wednesday morn.
Yes, and it's going to be a beautiful day in Savannah.
It is. Tomorrow we'll drop in once again with Travis Chance of CFG Wealth Management, give you some thoughts about what to do financially, and give you an update on how things are going in the market, as well as maybe calming you down on some of the things that you're hearing on other media that you won't hear anywhere else, because their idea is to make you stay in a constant situation where you're panicked all the time. And also, we're going to be starting, I think we're going to get our series going of what's going on airline-wise, as Jay Ratliff is going to be joining us for our weekly segment of Turbulence.
Yeah, well, and I will say the airline industry, man, I don't know what is going on with them, but they also, Delta just eliminated one of their requirements for the hours that their pilots are supposed to have. So I'm concerned about that.
Well, Pete Bootylicious is on it. Our transportation
that makes me even
secretary.
More scared.
Yeah, I know.
And more frightened now.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, I'm excited because there's also some pretty good stories from Jay, so I'm excited to hear those.
You know, the stupidity. Sometimes you wonder about the short-sightedness sometimes of these CEOs or whatever. Delta, along with a lot of other, most of the airlines, when the COVID thing hit, they suddenly, some of their more senior pilots, they offered them this big, buyout. Okay, well, we don't have we don't have passengers anymore, so we're going to give you early retirement. and they gave them all sorts of compensation and everything. So these pilots were gone. So all of a sudden they said, and then they're surprised that not only did it come, but as soon as the industry recovered, but it also recovered and then some. We have more people flying now than we did before the worthless shutdown that we had.
Well, I think that's the other thing. People realize life is short at that point. I think that there were a lot of lessons learned in 2020, and people were like, also, I've been locked in my home for 2 years. I've saved up my vacation time.
Mm-hmm.
We're going somewhere. We're going somewhere great. And we're going to fly all over.
Yeah, except unless, my wife, it's all I can do. I can't even talk her into getting on a plane because she sees these stories of the delays at the airport, people that are stranded there for 2 or 3 days, camping out at the airports, or the flight's been delayed. You're booked on another flight and that gets canceled, so on and so forth. So she said, I'm not going through that hassle. We went through it just a little bit before the year before the pandemic. In 2019, we were going out to South Dakota, and there was a malfunction on the door of our plane, and they couldn't get us on another plane for 3 days. So we lost 3 days of our vacation because of that, because they couldn't get the door closed.
I mean, it's kind of, I will say the flight delays are really terrible to deal with. I've been super lucky, haven't had anything super crazy happen, but it hasn't gotten better. Mm-hmm. And I don't know when it will, but also when you're lowering the requirements for pilots, that makes me very, very nervous. And why would we ever do that? And is it going to come to the point where on the app, I'm going to be able to look and see what their credentials are? Because I want to be able to decide if I'm okay getting on that plane.
I can remember, and this might have been on that same trip. No, this was a different one because we were flying Delta. But I remember I think we were going to Nashville to visit my brother-in-law, and the two pilots come walking up, and they looked like they were in high school. And there was this kind of an elderly black lady jumps up out of her seat like she was sat on a spear, and she goes running over and grabs these two guys and said, "How old are you?" And the pilot looked at her and said, I'm 32. And the co-pilot or navigator said, "I'm 28. And she was like, she turned around like, I don't know if I want to get on this plane. It was fine. Experience
matters.
Yeah, it does.
Well, I think it makes we were talking about it yesterday off air, just even like your physician. Like I prefer to go someone that's like in an older range because I feel like they have experience that the younger doctors just don't have. Mm-hmm. So experience does matter. And it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out with Delta and some of these other airlines that are doing this. So.
Yeah, for sure. Meanwhile, you going to send your kid to college?
Please don't.
Probably not the best idea you ever had. One of the maybe the silver lining to this cloud, Brittany, is that it looks like the technical schools and the trade schools are benefiting from this. More people going into, because you can get a degree in training in plumbing and go into a job that pays you $25 or $30 an hour. We need good plumbers. We need good mechanics.
Well, and we're short on those right now, so you're even making more money because there's a lot of people that don't know how to do that job now.
My wife does property management, and they are getting their knees bloody all the time, begging people to come, that know how to do drywall, that know how to do HVAC, that know how to nail a nail, for God's sakes. We have tenants, some of these kids that are so handicapped, shall we say, Brittany, they'll call up and say, "My doorknob is loose."
Oh, geez.
And said, "Well, tighten the screws on the doorknob." "I don't have a screwdriver." I said, Do you have a butter knife?"
Please help us. Please help us in the schools. We need to bring the trades back to the high schools.
Actually got a call from one of our tenants that wanted me to change the light bulb.
That's insane.
I mean, it's just it's that crazy.
Well, that's why we do need to bring back all of these other programs into the high schools. I did wood shop for 3 years in high school. I loved it. I thought it was wonderful.
I hated shop.
Oh, I loved it.
We had a good time. And, we had band saws. Yep. We had table saws. We had lathes. There wasn't a safety device on any of them.
Well, There wasn't in mine, but I don't think we signed anything. Like, I don't think my parents signed anything saying.
And not a single kid got their finger cut off or even cut. So, we paid attention. We didn't wear goggles.
Okay, we did do that.
I mean, it was nothing along those lines. So, but are you going to send your kid to school? Here's an idea that maybe there's hope at Prager University to the rescue.
What's up, guys? What's up, guys? What's up, guys? This is Willow with PragerU. Over the past few years, I've talked to thousands of college students at campuses across America. I've heard some pretty crazy ideas. I wanted to find out if all colleges in America are the same, or if there are some options out there that are different. Today, I'm at Dallas Baptist University asking students about their experiences at a faith-based university. Let's see what they have to say. Why is faith so important in education?
I think faith is so important in education because each person has a calling in their life, no matter what it is, and as Christ followers, we're supposed to go out and share the good news, no matter if that means we're going to be a doctor or a business owner or an engineer. We need to make that our mission field.
Why is a faith-based education important?
Incorporating that in every aspect of education, whether that be teaching or nursing or politics or anything along that lines, that we really make sure that we're having our faith driven behind all of it.
I think having that Christ-centered education just really shapes who I am, and it shapes what I'm learning. Whereas in my state school, it was a little bit different, where I kind of was more focused on what you are doing and how you can gain your own personal value.
It's not just like you taking on the world and trying to just be who the Lord created you to be on your own, but you're able to walk alongside others in community in that.
What do you think makes DBU special from other universities?
The obvious is their integrated faith. I think that it's not just something that they put on the front of the building or something that they just promote, but it's something that is truly in every single heart of every staff member, faculty, and student.
You'll find your greatest friends here, greatest professors. Our classes are pretty small, so we actually get to have a relationship with our teachers.
I have genuine relationships with my professors. They have a lot of experience working in the corporate world, working in ministry, working just different places, and so they're able to give me a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom that I can apply on a higher level of education.
You're involved in extracurriculars. What are those, and how has that affected your time here at DBU?
So I'm involved with the debate team here on campus. I've been blessed enough to be the president and the head coach of it. And honestly, the best thing for me there is it's really helped with my liberal arts education. So instead of just being able to say what you believe, it's helped me to think through what it is that I actually believe.
How do you think that is preparing you for the future?
It's really preparing me because I want to be a professor one day, so that is really helpful just in higher ed, gaining those experiences, but seeing the kind of leader I want to be one day.
All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like it, share with your friends, comment your thoughts down below, and if you want to know more about DBU, go to prageru.com/DBU. Peace.
One of the noticeable differences in his interviews on that campus is those children or young adults are very articulate.
Exactly. You didn't hear a lot of ums and ahs and like.
Or even the institutional language that you hear on the left. It's all the words that really mean nothing. You didn't hear that from them.
And as we wrap it up today, there's a story about on May 5th, just 5 days ago, students from the School of Liberal Studies at Savannah High School and Savannah Early College, they had, back in November, there was a phony shooter
hoax.
And they're going over it now. They're asking them how they were affected emotionally, how they and their parents were affected emotionally. It didn't happen. They evacuated the school. There was no shooter, but now they're asking about what their emotions were like. Well, if you haven't gotten over it by now and said, well, thank goodness, because the media makes such a big deal, and obviously so, of a school shooting, but they are, I hate to say that they're rare, but the chances are that your kid is going to come home alive today.
Well, and they're belaboring it, I think, is the big issue is, for me, what should happen from that experience is that we know that there is a huge issue in the Savannah reaction to school shootings. That's what I think parents realized. I'm not going to have communication about where my kid is at and if they're okay. And so filling those gaps is what they should be focused on. And the emotions of students, I mean, I think that we've created an environment where we're always trying to cater to everyone's feelings and things like that, which I know that I'm not known as the most compassionate person, but I do think that we have to reach a point where we're creating stronger people and that they can handle stuff like this and that they get stronger from these experiences instead of weakening their ability to cope with them.
When we showed you this 12-year-old kid who I would like to see in Congress tomorrow, from up in Massachusetts, who gets thrown out of school because he had a shirt that said there are only 2 genders. And he's telling the school board that a lot of that he was told by the teachers that a lot of people were upset about this, that they felt threatened. You were threatened by a T-shirt?
But was it the students or was it the teachers?
Yeah.
That's my question.
Good question. And we will discuss it more even tomorrow.
Yes. Well, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Please listen, like, and follow us on Facebook. And we also have a new app, so you can go to thelocalspin.com and you can download that now.
Stay real. See you tomorrow.